exactly how many jobs were at risk as a result. 64,000 small businesses in Alabama were negatively impacted by the way the Biden administration handled this, 125 employees. At the end of the day, our farmers and ranchers are the absolute best stewards of their resources. They depend on the fruitfulness and the continuation of those to provide not only for our family, but for our nation and our globe. I'm of the belief that food security is national security, and our agriculture community continues to be under attack. But that is no longer. Common sense has finally been restored, both at the White House and here at the EPA. I am so proud to be here today. The clarity that we saw in Sackett actually being able to be implemented, having that opportunity, being able to have regulatory certainty, pulling back the red tape regime, and allowing our men and women to do what they do best, providing not only for their families, but for ours. That will ultimately be the result of the hard work of EPA Administrator Zeldin. And I will tell you this, if you can get, I love a Trump EPA, you know what I mean? I think I could get a group of farmers and ranchers and all the sorts to wear that for a picture. They just won't want it to be used against them otherwise. So we'll just have to have a little clarity there, and I think I can make that happen. But at the end of the day, I am just grateful. This is what is affecting the men and women that we serve. We hear this every time we go home. We hear this every time they come to DC, and to get to be a part of actually affecting change, it feels good. And so for everyone out there, we encourage you to comment, as Senator Cramer said, and obviously Senator Boozman here too. Comment, bring those fruitful comments, bring that anecdotal evidence, bring the clarity, as Senator Boozman said, bring the science, and let's get this done for the next generation, and let's allow fruitfulness to continue. Thank you.
We have two members of the House with us. One is Congressman Doug LaMalfa, who I served with during my 4 terms, my 8 years. Grateful that he's still there fighting for his constituents in California. And as it's obvious to all of you here, and for those who will be tuning in from home, you're hearing from red state representatives, you're hearing from blue state representatives. This is a concern from coast to coast and across the ideological spectrum, doing the right thing and following, as what you just heard referenced multiple times, common sense. Congressman Doug LaMalfa.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here. Administrator Zeldin, my good friend Lee, who works side by side in the House those years. Appreciate you, and appreciate you ascending to this role here. So my wife, she frequently likes to go to the thrift store, and a few years ago I asked, would you keep an eye out for some of those anti-Trump #resist shirts so I can wear it during the Biden era? So maybe she'll spot some of these I Heart EPA ones during this Trump era, perhaps, so that could work out. So but kind of T-shirt thing's taking a life of its own. And also, don't be completely discouraged by sushi, because it does have rice in it, you know. So, Senator Boozman, I'm a rice grower in real life, so in Northern California. With that, we've had some unique things happen to us in Northern California due to some overly expansive interpretations of WOTUS in the past. Constituents of mine have had their ability to use their land severely curtailed. In one case, they'd done some re-sloping of the land so they could actually catch their tailwater so it wouldn't go into the water system. And they got yelled at for that. And for 3 or 4 years, you had Army Corps and EPA after them trying to decide what they did was right or wrong. You had actually people coming out there, you know, like those carpet swatch booklets you could get at the carpet store. They had swatches of different types of foliage in there that they're trying to compare. Now, is this it right here? They're looking on the ground there for something that might be endangered that they could get in trouble for. Then in another case, a farmer had his land that had been fallowed for some years. It had grown wheat before. It had wheat history. They decided, well, let's go back and grow some wheat once again. So they go out and do the normal things a farmer does in tilling the ground. And then they got a visit a little later on from the combination of EPA and Army Corps saying, you've altered the waterways of the United States, basing the premise on that when you plow up a furrow. This is a mini mountain. Okay, this is a mini mountain range that now has runoff. That runoff could now mean that you're making silt getting into your ditch, which you made, a drainage ditch or an irrigation ditch. And that's how absurd it's gotten, because that person ended up having to pay a large fine, and I don't know if he got to plant his ground yet. This is not what this was about. These laws were passed in 1970, creating the EPA and the NEPA Act, as well as 72 when the Clean Water Act was passed by a supermajority in Congress. If those bills were passed the way they're interpreted today, a whole bunch of people wouldn't be in Congress anymore with how out of control it's become. The interpretations. So what we're so grateful for with the court decision and the Trump administration moving and hitting on all 8 cylinders, along with Administrator Zeldin, to have clarity on what the law is supposed to be on waters of the United States. It's not every mud puddle that they should regulate. You know, if you can float a rubber duck in it for a half hour after the rain, that does not mean this is something they can regulate. It has to be contiguous. It has to tie in actually to a waterway somehow. And not only is clarity important, but reasonableness and fairness. Because you can have clarity on really bad rules and still not be able to get along with that. To do farming, ranching, construction, whatever it might be. And to have this go this direction finally, I'm elated, not just for myself as a farmer, but everybody that would build a stock pond to keep their cattle watered on their own land. Normal things that used to be normal that were twisted and turned on their ear under the Obama and Biden administrations. Now we have that clarity back. And as Administrator Zeldin said, we want this to be able to stand the test of time, not change in every administration, and so you have that herky-jerky business that nobody knows where they stand with the government, other than if they do something, they're probably going to get fined or get their land taken away. So I'm elated for this effort, and we're here behind you, whatever we can do. Thank you for letting me be part of this today. Thanks to my great colleagues that are all such great leaders and with the right vision on that. So thanks so much.
Congressman Derek Van Orden from Wisconsin is here as well. I was representing the 1st Congressional District of New York. I was followed by Nick LaLota. He was the person who took my seat. And the moment that I was nominated, I instantly heard from Nick asking to put me in touch with Derek to talk about an unrelated topic that some people might be familiar with here called E15. Derek instantly wanted to talk. And there's a fist bump from Senator Ernst on that one. So I quickly became familiar with Derek, and what I'm most impressed with is his amazingly distinguished service in uniform. Thank you for continuing to serve in the House of Representatives. I'd like to invite Congressman Van Orden up to speak.
This is the first time Doug and I have ever been outnumbered by senators, and I'm not quite sure what to do here. But hey, listen, I represent Wisconsin's 3rd Congressional District, and it's the largest contiguous section of the Mississippi River of any congressional district in the state or in the entire country. So this is very important, and it's a very agrarian district. In the 3rd, we've developed some things which are terribly interesting that have a greater impact than you'd know. Organic Valley, the real organic valleys from my district, and also some of the most innovative environmental conservation techniques that you can imagine, starting with retention ponds. So our folks started building these retention ponds to catch the nutrient runoff and collect the nutrients in the bottom, recoup those, put them back on the land, and then also re-irrigate with that water. Well, speaking to my folks, if the WDCA rules had stayed in place, they'd have to get rid of these retention ponds because they would become navigable waterways, making our farmers' lands subject to no notice inspection by the federal government at any time, and as my colleagues have pointed out, devastating fines. So what the appreciable effect of what appeared to be a good thing to do, an altruistic rule, would be that the nutrients would actually wind up in the Mississippi River polluting the waters. So I wanted to come here specifically to thank President Donald J. Trump and Administrator Zeldin for standing up for our farmers and reversing the last 4 years of the war on agriculture that has been waged by the Biden administration. So, Administrator Zeldin, my farmers from Wisconsin, thank you very much. President Trump, if you're watching this, my farmers, thank you very much. I ask that God bless all you and your families, and continue your great work, Mr. Administrator.
And our final speaker, certainly last but not least, we want to hear from the farming community directly. And we have the president of the American Farm Bureau here with us today. As Congressman Van Orden just mentioned, I know that there are a couple dozen members of the media here. Grateful that you're taking the time to be able to cover this story. There's always so much going on and a lot to report on. And it's important that what we're engaging in here is a message that gets out to those farmers, those ranchers, those landowners. So thank you for covering this important story. And to help tell that story, today wouldn't be complete without making sure that Zippy Duvall, president of the American Farm Bureau, was here to speak to all of us. Zippy?
Thank you, Administrator Zeldin, and thank you, President Trump, for allowing the farmers to have a seat at the table like you did in your first term and again this time. So we thank you for that opportunity. I am here representing and honored to represent farmers and ranchers across this country. Our organization consists of about 6 million family members across the country, 2,800 county farm bureaus. We touch every community in this country, and we do it by providing one united voice. And I'm honored to be here in front of the men and women that make the sacrifices to develop policy for us. And I echo everything that you've said up to this point. We really appreciate the administration taking on bringing clarity to WOTUS. I can't tell you, as I traveled this country, the discussions that we've had for decades now about WOTUS. And farm labor, cannot say that. Those are the two things I hear most of all everywhere I go. What are we going to do to fix these problems? This is a first big step in a very difficult farm economy that gives our farmers and ranchers hope that good things are going to happen in the future. You know, as you know, this is one of the worst farm economies we've had in decades, and there's so many things that need to happen to help our rural communities by helping our farmers and ranchers. And I told the Senate leader last week, we need to deliver some positive to farmers to give them that hope. And this is a absolutely wonderful positive thing that can happen. You brought up E15. We could deliver that too, and that'd be a positive thing. A year-round E15 would be positive too. But this is a great first step. WOTUS has been a pain in the side for our farmers and ranchers. Our farmers and ranchers want to do what's right. They just want to know what right is. And through this last administration, with their vague wording of with the implement guidance or lack of implement guidance, so vague wording like relatively permanent. Can anybody define that? Yeah, it's relevant. That's exactly right. And our farmers shake their heads and wonder what that might be. And they have to choose between what they think is right and what's wrong, and have to hire consultants, attorneys, to push back on the federal government that's supposed to be there to help us, not hinder us doing our job. So we look forward to that clarity in an implement guidance document that our farmers can do. I remember one of your predecessors during the first administration, he and I had lunch together, and he said, "What does a WOTUS look like to you?" And I says, "Well, I'm a farmer, and I need a rule that's on one page, that's sitting on the dash of my truck right beside my devotional book. And if I have a question about a ravine on my farm, I can pick that one page up, read it, and interpret it myself what that might look like." That's what the goal should be. It should be that simple, because our farmers and ranchers for generations have worked hard to leave their farms and ranches in better shape than what they found it from their fathers and their grandfathers. None of us would do anything to hurt the environment, the water, the air that we live on, because it is our homes. It's where our families live. We consume the products off of it. You said one of your goals here is to protect human health and the environment. That defines a farmer. What we produce, we want to produce in a healthy way that helps make America healthy again. And we want to do it according to science and common sense. And you have taken the first step here in this implement guidance document to help farmers protect the environment on their land and to continue to feed this country and provide that national security, Senator, that you spoke of. So thank you so much for giving our farmers hope in this first step. We look forward to the new rule. We'll be making those comments. And of course, along with having clarity, we need that durability because farmers make decisions today that's going to affect them 10, 15 years down the road. And with a durable waters of the U.S. that's clear, we can continue to protect the environment and our farms and make them sustainable for the future. So thank you, Mr. Administrator. Thank you, President Trump. We thank you for the hope and look forward to the future of working with you.
Thank you, Zippy. And in conclusion, the rulemaking that we are initiating needs to be simple, needs to be durable, totally consistent with SACIT, and built to withstand the test of time. And we're excited about undertaking this effort. Look forward to working with all of you. And this time I'd like to invite our speakers to come up for a photo. Jess, Army Corps, if you'd like to join us, we'll take a group photo. Thank you all for attending today's announcement. Should we be in front? Okay.
Come on. Good morning.
We can go behind it if you
Tape off and move that baby.
Yeah.
Let's see. It's all taped down.